Good afternoon and welcome to Sustainable Family Home. My name is Mia Swainson and this is my son, Tasman.
Super, I'm here.
And my other son, Xavier.
I'm just washing my hands.
Yeah, excellent. We're washing our hands before we get started today because today we're going to about 2 different types of bread. Now, this whole webinar started when Canberra schools closed their doors and said, encourage everyone to go home and teach at home. And so instead of just hanging around, I thought it was a great opportunity for us to learn to live more sustainably. So that's what we're doing. And today we're going to bake bread. We'll take you through these 2 different bread recipes, and then there'll be an opportunity for questions or comments, and we'd love to hear from you as well about your favourite bread baking. So the first recipe is a classic seed and nut loaf, and it's just with yeast because I think it's the easiest type of bread to make. So Tasman, so we're going to bake it in this bowl here. So we need 4 cups of flour, and Zoe might have a recipe there that she can share.
Baker's flour?
Yeah.
Here?
4 cups in here. Yeah.
4 cups.
This is our yeast.
Right to the top. I can do it one.
This is our yeast at the start.
Alright.
Does everyone see our yeast at the start?
Xavier. Oh,
If you do.
yeah.
Oh,
So
shoot.
4 cups of flour. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of flour. So
It's almost enough.
yeah, that's probably enough. Typically
Get
when
a
I make,
spoon, guys, and then get a spoon. You like to smooth it out before
Yep.
you really, so you know that you're getting the right amount. Not too much.
yeah, so Xavier's making sure it's exact there.
We don't actually have enough.
We don't have enough, better put a bit more in. Okay.
That one?
So
Still not enough.
I think it's just about the right amount. Oh, a little bit more.
I told you, Mum.
Yeah.
That's enough.
So with the bread making, usually I use
That might have been a bit too much.
clearly, if you could just put the rest in there. Usually I actually don't use all white flour. I use a mix of wholemeal flour and white flour, plain flour. But because of the shortages at the moment, this was all we could get. So there was no, couldn't find wholemeal flour in the shops. So we're just going this time with 100% white flour. So Xavier, do you want to pour that in? Yep, to our bowl. And we're going to make a really nice wet dough all the way through. Yeah. Oh, no! Don't put your hand in. No, you bish. Hey.
You bitch.
Don't put your hand in. All right. Now,
Not the
can
swear
you
word.
pour?
It means a bush and a fish combined.
No, it doesn't.
What does it mean then?
No, it means to bring something back
Okay.
somebody.
That is my 3rd son in the background there, who's sitting on the couch reading instead of joining us. All right.
He's very naughty.
Here we go. Now we're
Name
putting
is
a
Ashley.
teaspoon of yeast in. So I just have this packet yeast. It's not, don't use your hand, hun.
I want it to be one to volcano.
Yeah, we're not going to volcano it today. And then we need 2 teaspoons of salt.
It's a
Zave, might get you stirring
Okay,
with this one here, just really gently.
gently.
And I don't know if you can see what's happening, so maybe I'll just, there we go. Adjust the camera.
Okay,
So Tasman,
now
yeah.
you can see it.
Yeah.
You
Now,
should
Tasman,
stir
can
it
you-
gently just to. You should
Yeah, so-
blend.
Yeah, so then we need 1 and a second one. So 2
Sea salt.
teaspoons of salt, which sounds like a lot of salt, but actually
Stop.
it tastes normal, like normal
Don't.
bread.
Don't.
So
Taz, don't.
2 teaspoons of salt. Now Taz,
Taz,
now you've
it's
got
really hard.
your next thing to put in is the water. All right, can you pour this water in? So we've got here 2 1/4 cups of water. So it was 4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of yeast, then 2 teaspoons of salt, and then you've got another job here. next one. And then the 2 1/4 cups of, we've got to fill it up now, of 2 1/4 cups of water, and it's making a really sloshy dough. Now Tasman's going to add the seeds and nuts. Now he's already put in here some dates because he wants it to be sweet tasting seed and nut loaf. And so here we've got some sesame seeds, some pepitas, some sunflower seeds.
This is good.
And some, what's this one here? Almond flakes. So Tasman, which ones do you want to put in? So we've got to fill
I thought it was a rainbow, Mum.
a rainbow. Okay, so what does that mean?
All of them.
All of them. Do you want to pour them in, or do you want me to?
Wow, this is.
Okay,
I think we've done too much flour.
too much flour? It's a lot of flour, isn't it?
I know. Well, it actually on the measuring it said too little, but the water's not mixing quite right.
Just keep it going. So this recipe is fantastic because it's so easy. You just put it all together and
Wait a bit.
yep. And there's no special ordering or waiting. There's only one wait as opposed to sourdough bread making.
What is that?
Except, well, there's lots of waiting in sourdough bread making. All right, so Taz has now got his cup, which is a rainbow. Now, can you pour it into Xavier's gloopy mess? You can have a little look at that. I'll lift you up. So see, Xavier's doing some stirring there.
Hard.
Good job. Now I might have it. How about Mum has a go? And
At the end, it should look like it's got a lot. It should look.
so it's really just a gloopy mess, really. It's a pretty gloopy,
Do we need to put the cups on?
gloopy dough. And then all we do, because we've given it the yeast, that's what makes it rise. And then with this one, we're just going to leave it, until tomorrow.
Really?
Yep, because the yeast makes it rise and adds little bubbles that creates the air that you get in the loaf. So shall we put this to the side, and maybe we'll put, do you want to get that towel there and we'll put it over it? And
That's what Dad does.
that is what Dad does. Dad bakes as well, but he usually bakes sourdough.
Which has a lot of waiting.
Yeah. So what we'll do tomorrow, kids, is we'll leave it for 10 to 24 hours, so probably mid-morning tomorrow. What we'll do is it'll be wet and sticky still, and we'll put the oven on to 240, as hot as the oven will go, and then we'll put it into a baking tray, greased on the side, plop it in for 30 minutes, and then uncovered. Covered. So 30 minutes with a lid in our little baking tray. Oh, Xavier's making it exact. And then after 30 minutes, I take the lid off and let the crust form, and we'll have a beautiful nut and seed loaf crust. And in this case, nut seed and date loaf crust. Xavier's just in the side there, just making sure that all of the little tiny bits of dough get into the bowl for tomorrow.
Not all the little tiny bits, just so we don't have shortage.
Yeah. And Xavier was talking about his dad who bakes sourdough bread. So I don't do the sourdough. That is Matt's job, because sourdough has lots and lots of steps in it. So I find just this really simple yeast recipe the easiest way to bake bread at home. So the second...
Do you have any tips about cooking?
What do you mean?
Baking paper.
Oh, not using baking paper?
Yes.
Yeah.
It actually works.
Yeah, you don't have to use baking paper. You can just grease the tray. Very good.
Why can't you remember anything?
Because I'm getting too old. All right. So,
are we on to flatbread?
Flatbread. Tasman, do you want to help still? Superhero? He's taking a little break. All right. We have to wash your hands after you've eaten the apple, and then you can come up and help. So just
coronavirus.
Well, actually, it's just good hygiene in the kitchen.
Good point.
So next up, we're going to make flatbread, and this is the dough that we prepared earlier. So there's a recipe for it that Zoe will probably show you on the screen. You can take a photo of the recipe with your camera if you like, or Zoe will post that on the Canberra Environment Centre link, so you'll be able to access it afterwards. Now, this is my favourite wholemeal flatbread recipe.
Can I do that?
Just in a second, you can. That's that recipe
why,
there.
Why can't I do it?
Just a second. Did you wash your hands?
Don't mix my
It is yours. So we've got in here a cup of self-raising flour, a cup of plain flour, and then we've just mixed it all together with a cup of Greek-style yogurt, teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and now what we're about to do, we've left it to sit for 15 minutes. Now we're dividing the dough into 4 to 6 equal sized pieces, and we're all going to roll them out. So hang on, put this. So I've just put flour on the bench.
I'll spread it out a bit.
And here we go.
Can I?
Yep, hang on. So I'm going to cut it in half to get it to 6. So I'll cut it in half, and then I'll cut each half into 3 bits.
I'll do
1, 2, 3. All right.
Or is there divisible? Is it
Yeah.
divisible?
There we go. Now I'll show you what that looks like.
How of math?
There we go. And the boys are going to now roll this out flat. So into a ball, and then we'll roll it flat. Yep, so we'll make these into balls. Now, because there's no wholemeal flour in the shops, instead of using wholemeal flour, I actually use chickpea flour, because that was what I had in the back of the cupboard. I think, there's something to be said with cooking with what you've got, and chickpea flour was what we had. Okay, so who wants to do the first one?
Me.
All right.
Can you?
I'm gonna do the first one.
Oh, hang on. No, Tasman was the one who said he wanted to do this episode, so he can do the first one. Now, give it so now it's nice and floured.
Taz.
Roll it out. You want to make it about 1/2 centimetre, and whatever shape you roll it into will be the shape of your flatbread or your pocket bread.
Why is it called pocket bread?
Because the way it cooks, you end up with a pocket in the middle. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for that.
Yeah.
Science.
Can I put?
Now,
Can I put little fingers?
they won't come out.
His finger bumps won't come out.
Yeah. So,
Would a handprint come out?
I don't think so. So what we're going to do now is just behind us with on the stove, I've got, do you want to, if you let people see, we've got the griddle pan, actually, and I have got, I'm just going to give them a little spray with, I don't normally have spray olive oil, but by chance I do. So I'm going to spray it with olive oil, and because it just need a really light dusting of olive oil, and I'm going to pop it on there. And I'm going to spray the other side with olive oil too.
Has you only get to do 2, remember?
No, you get 3 each.
Oh,
There's 6. So you can
I
have
thought
6.
you
But-
would do one.
Oh, you guys can do them all.
Okay, sure.
All right, so your turn, Xavier. Second one. Xavier's turn. Yeah.
Then I'm going to one line my
Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake
Good
it
job.
up, shake it up. Shake it. I'm gonna kind of be on unusual shape.
Yeah. Well, maybe you might just get time to do one each, because
Time is of the essence.
time is of the essence. So
Hey, stop copying me.
time. So it's just cooking over there on high on the griddle pan, and it only takes a couple of minutes, and then I'll flip it over and we'll cook the other side while these guys are rolling out the rest of them. So you can see they're having a lot of fun with the flatbread.
Look at this.
Actually,
It actually works.
that's pretty cool. Can we put it in the thing
I'm
now?
gonna put it on. Now I'm gonna do this by hand.
Uh-huh.
This is unusual shape. I'm going to make it into.
Yeah.
Tasman's just doing one by the rolling pin.
Yeah. So while they're cooking, I wonder if this is a good chance for any questions or comments, Zoe, and then we'll show you the finished product.
Mia, when I'm making bread, I often have trouble getting the bread to rise.
Yeah.
Tips?
So make sure the yeast is fresh. So that's why I opened a new packet, because I did have some old yeast in there.
So you just use powdered, yeast is okay?
Yeah, just straight out of the packet. But the other one is temperature, which I wouldn't expect to be a thing for you in Queensland. But in Canberra, it doesn't rise so well in the wintertime. So, but maybe if you put it, you know, into an oven, you know, on low or something like that. Yeah, so temperature's usually the factor for us.
So you just leave it in the kitchen. You just leave it in the kitchen somewhere with a cloth over it and cut the what? Okay.
Yeah, literally just like that. And and if I was in the habit of doing it, I would mix it up at night time, and then first thing early in the morning, put the oven on and then bake so it's fresh and ready first thing. I think this is ready to turn, so I better just turn the pocket bread over here.
Or flatbread, whichever one you want to call it.
Yeah.
I almost did a flip with my one unusual.
Any other questions, or anyone got any bread making stories to share?
You've got one no.
No.
I don't have a bread making story, but Xavier and Taz, what's your favourite bread that you mum and dad make at home?
Sourdough.
Dad's sourdough.
Yeah.
Fruit bread.
Fruit and nut bread. Yeah. So Dad makes a fruit and nut bread that we sometimes have with ricotta as like a brunchy thing.
Yeah. With the last one, the first loaf that you made, Mia, that recipe, is it? Can you overdo the nuts and things that you put with it? Like is a maximum amount?
Look, I think that's totally a matter of choice. So I'm quite happy with the 1 cup of nuts and seeds to 4 cups of flour. But I would experiment. So yeah, I think you can overdo it, but it's a matter of taste. Yeah. I'll just pull this first pocket bread off. So
I'm thinking that if you put in too much, then it'll crumble out because there won't be enough bread to hold it together.
It could do. That's a possibility.
So if you're planning to put in more, then try and put in more of everything. It'll just make a bigger bread.
Xavier,
Pizza one. I made one like pizza.
Sorry, what was that?
Xavier, do you do any cooking at school? Do they do cooking at school?
Do you do cooking at school?
No.
Someone did in science. They did cooking. I think Ashwin's group did. Did you do cooking?
Yeah, I saw him.
What did you cook in science?
Muffins for market day.
Oh, they cooked muffins for market day, so not very scientific.
Yeah.
But
it is technology, so yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So I'll just show you what these look like before we finish up. I'll show you what it looks like.
Xavier, I'm supposed to be the superhero here. What's into the superhero?
Seriously.
All right.
Seriously, Taz?
Has someone got one ready to go? So this is what it looks like off the griddle pan.
That looks good.
And then I'll let it sit for just a minute or so before I open it up. And it'll be ready. Yep, hang on. We'll just spray some. It's like, I don't put it, it's like, just
I'll put it back here.
Okay. And then,
And so you can spray.
yep.
Spray it, please. Spray, please.
Yeah, well, you can do it. And then off the, so you get those nice lines and it still cooks. The other method looks a bit like this, so just on a flat pan. Yeah, so I think that's all from us today.
Yeah. Been really
Please
good.
tune in next time.
Yes, tune in next time. So we'll be back again tomorrow, and it's actually Xavier's episode tomorrow, and so I'm not sure what it's going to be. It'll be a bit of an adventure. I think it's going to be rainy again here in Canberra. tomorrow. So it'll be an inside sustainability adventure tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to see you all again today. Bye.
Thank you.